Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Fight and complain about getting free stuff? Sure, why not? More details in the first story. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Dad wanted to exchange what he got for free. When I was 17 a couple years ago, I worked for a store that did a cool thing for elementary students. Basically, the store manager announced that he'll be setting something up where he's going to order backpacks, and any participating employees can sign up and get a backpack and donate school-related materials by putting them in the backpack. Once the backpack's filled, the employee turns it in and it's set to go. As you may have already guessed, and this is important info, yes, that meant the backpacks would each end up having random things in them. Nonetheless, it was all school-related to help aid a kid in their schooling. The way it worked was qualifying low-income families would sign up, and once approved, they'd be allowed to bring their kids in to get their free backpack. Obviously, it was a limited number of backpacks and a one-day thing, so on this date, people were basically standing in line with their kid or kids to get a backpack or backpacks. I was one of the employees helping hand backpacks out to the kids, and then it happened. You had a dad that started rummaging through his kids' backpacks on the spot, mind you, and noticed one backpack had an Amazon Fire tablet and the other one didn't. For those who don't know, it's a pretty basic tablet. If I remember correctly, they were only like $29 tablets. Of course, he starts to complain, then I respond with, "Sir, each backpack is random." But hey, the other backpack has some pretty cool things in it too. Yep, he wasn't having it. He even started pointing to the only two backpacks left on the counter and demanding he rummage through those as well and pick whichever one was to his liking. The parents of the last two kids left in line had baffled looks on their faces, as did I. Even his kids looked embarrassed. At this point, obviously, a manager needed to get involved. Manager comes out and states to the father, "Sir, absolutely not. You were given free backpacks loaded with supplies, and your response was to complain about the contents and ask to see the other bags? No. I'm sorry, sir. Have a good day." At this point, the only mature people in that family showed, and it was when the kids started yanking their dad's shirt, stating that they love the backpacks and it's okay. The kids even thanked my manager, and my manager smiled and told them they're welcome and wished them the best on their schooling. What shocked me was that the dad did not seem at all embarrassed by his actions. He kept his disgruntled look and left the store mumbling profanities. Like, you were given at the very least every item needed for your kid's schooling before the start of the school year, meaning he wouldn't have to spend a dime getting things his kids needed for school, and yet this is how he acted? Not to mention it was publicly displayed in the info about this program that it was the employees who donated the stuff from their money. It's not like it was a government-funded thing. I really don't get some people. Entitled people like this is what makes people like your manager not want to do this sort of event ever again. And our second story. How I got a store manager fired for selling my property to a Karen mom. I'm a 26-year-old male, and I'm both autistic and have severe PTSD. I'm on a few different medications for depression and migraines and have to live in Section 8 housing that I just moved into a few months ago after being on the waiting list for years. I don't like being touched or loud noises, and I certainly don't like seeing anyone take my stuff. When I moved to this city for the Section 8 housing, I'd been gifted a brand new Razor kick scooter by a friend to get around my new area with, and I love it. It's black and made a bit sturdier than typical ones for an adult to ride and has bigger wheels. It also isn't sold in the local stores, but they have similar-looking ones in the bike department, and obviously I don't just leave it outside when I go into a store. I fold it up and put it in my cart while shopping. I look kind of twitchy, so most people leave me alone, and I'm just fine with that. But touch me without consent or take my stuff and be ready for a massive freakout. I went down the canned food aisle and started browsing the chunky soup. When I picked what I'd wanted and put the cans in the cart, I noticed my scooter was gone and there was a woman with a kid fast walking away while carrying it. I shouted after them to return my scooter, but they ignored me, so I abandoned my cart to give chase. When I caught up to the lady and the kid, I tried to take my scooter back, and the kid screamed so loud my eardrums felt like they were going to pop. And then the Karen mom shoved down while yelling something I didn't hear because my ears were ringing and my brain just stopped working for a moment. A manager noticed the commotion and came to see what the trouble was. I didn't even get a chance to speak when the Karen mom started calling me a creep and was demanding I be thrown out. I kept trying to explain what really happened, but the Karen just kept yelling over me. We were separated and I was made to sit in an office. The manager approached me and I asked where my scooter was. He admonished me and said it was sold to the Karen, and I shouldn't have tried to take it from the kid when they were just trying to buy it from the store. Then he pointed out that he had to give the Karen a discount just because of the situation. I understandably freaked out and told him that the Karen had taken my scooter that I came into the store with, and it wasn't sold there. The manager just looked confused and I nearly broke down. Then I pulled my phone out and showed him a picture a friend had taken of me with the scooter right after I'd gotten it. Next thing I knew, he was running out of the room, and when he finally came back, he said that Karen was long gone. I pulled my phone back out and started frantically calling the police. The manager actually tried to stop me by putting his hand over my phone, and I freaked out from him touching me. He backed off because I nearly kicked him and was panicking and saying he'd buy me another scooter from the store. I told him that my scooter was expensive and didn't come from their store, and I wanted mine back. Well, it turned out I'd managed to dial 911 because the police were already listening in on the line and the operator was trying to get my attention. I just told them to send someone over because my property had been stolen. I had to wait for another hour at least while police showed up and then went through the CCTV footage. It clearly showed me entering the store with the scooter and showed the Karen and her crotch goblin taking it from my cart and the mess that followed when I tried to get it back. I wanted my scooter back, and police had to find the Karen from the camera footage of the parking lot. They found her address by running her plate number they got from the camera footage, and I got to ride in the back of a police car while we went to her apartment. The officer knocked on her door, and I didn't hear the situation because I was still sitting in the back of the car with the windows closed. But the Karen mom looked really angry and eventually brought the scooter out after some back and forth. She practically had to wring it out of her kid's hands. I got let out of the car and they asked me if I wanted to press charges for assault because the mother had shoved me. She looked ghost white when I said I didn't want that, but the Karen started crying and begging me. She said that she honestly thought it was something the store was selling and it was her kid's birthday. I yelled that didn't excuse her stealing from someone else's cart, let alone from a legally disabled man. Her kid was also loudly crying and my ears were hurting again, so I said I wouldn't press charges on her if she didn't come near me or my stuff again, but I wanted something done about the manager at the store for letting this happen. And I was ready to ride my scooter all the way back there, but the police convinced me that it'd be better if I just went home and calmed down. I later learned on my next visit to the store a couple days later that the manager was fired over what happened because he already had a few complaints against him and didn't bother to check that the scooter wasn't one of theirs. And the store gave the Karen and her kid a replacement Razor scooter that they had in stock because she'd already paid for one. But she was also banned for 6 months from the store for shoving me and stealing my property. I was also given a $50 gift card for some free groceries since I wasn't able to buy anything the day that mess happened. Now every time I go into that store, a few of the employees know me by name, and one actually told a random kid to leave me alone when he asked about my scooter. I certainly kept a better eye on it now too. I've also since added a name tag on the underside of the scooter with my full name, just in case this happens again. Wow. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. That stupid manager really tried to stop you from calling the police? Bad move. Very, very bad ex-manager. And our last story. Entitled neighbors want pool access for free. Not mine, but from my next-door neighbor. EN is entitled neighbor, N is my neighbor. My neighbor and her husband are one of the neighbors we get along with the most. They sometimes talk about their back neighbor, whose backyard shares a fence with their backyard. There's a lot of stories about that white fence, but that's for another day. They told us that when they first moved into their current house, that neighbor was super friendly. They'd often visit each other and have dinner, chit-chat over the fence, etc. They both had a pool in their backyard. Then one day, the entitled neighbor told my neighbor they wanted to get rid of their pool. She said that she, her husband, and their kids barely used it anyway, and it was too expensive for them to keep it. Neighbor agreed that there was no point in keeping it if no one was using it. Then entitled neighbor added, "If it gets too hot, we'll just use your pool instead anyway." Now, entitled neighbor often made jokes, so neighbor didn't take her seriously at first and simply said, no, they can't use their pool whenever they want. But entitled neighbor was dead serious. She didn't take it well and started demanding access to the pool because it wouldn't be fair for them not to share when it was hot, and that they already pay to maintain their pool, so it wouldn't be a problem if the entitled neighbors use it from time to time. Neighbor's only response was, "If you want to use a pool, then keep yours, because you're not using mine." Entitled neighbor was furious and claimed she misjudged them and they weren't being good neighbors, etc. Mind you, she never asked if they could use the pool from time to time. She assumed that they will let them use the pool. That pool incident started the ongoing war between two neighbors. Edit. Didn't expect this to have so much reaction? Since you want to know more about them and the entitled neighbor, I'm going to make another post about her. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.